As a palliative medicine physician in both community and hospital settings, I am grateful for the opportunities to witness numerous life stories. Patients, along with their spouses or partners, openly share their struggles with me. These stories are real, the experiences are authentic, and their inspiration is profound. Over the past 23 years, I have listened to countless real-life stories about dying while living well. I believe that sharing these valuable life experiences with readers worldwide is beneficial, as everyone eventually faces the last stage of life. May these stories inspire you to live well and leave well. Dr. Loe Chin. There was a 17-year-old boy with advanced cancer. He knew that he was going to die. The parents were fully aware that he was dying. They decided to do only whatever was needed by the son and whatever was important to him. He chose to be at home, and the parents agreed that they did not want to force him to eat anything he didn't want. So, both the young boy and the parents were very prepared. The boy was at the end stage, bedridden, with very little energy, spoke very little, and drank just a few sips of water. When I visited him, he asked me this question, "Dr. Loe, I am ready now, why can't I go?" The parents asked the same thing and said, "We are all prepared, why does he still need to linger and suffer so much?" Clinically, the boy was on an infusion for pain medication. He was totally bedridden, sleeping most of the time, but mentally still very aware of things. During the home visit, I asked him this question, "Are you ready to go? Is there anything that might still be bothering you and that you are hanging on to?" "Think about it," I said goodbye to him. I always say goodbye to these patients who already know they are on another journey in the universe. Early the next morning, when I called the mom, she said, "I have something to tell you, Dr. Loe. My boy wants you to know that he has put down 2 pieces of luggage that he has been carrying." The mom said the 2 pieces of luggage were the mom and dad. Finally, he realized he doesn't have to carry them, so he was able to go off last night. In my experience in palliative care, I'm frequently asked, do I really need to let go? What should I let go? These questions have sparked my contemplation. Some individuals express, I want to let go, but I'm struggling. Can you guide me on how to let go? Letting go is more than just a concept. Perhaps at various stages of life, letting go certain things becomes necessary to create space for the new. It's akin to life being a storage space, and each of us having limited capacity. At times, we want to expand our storage, accumulating wealth, relationships, and networks. So, the idea of letting go might carry a negative connotation, especially towards life's end. Does it mean giving up everything that I have accumulated? Is it a negative action? Alternatively, it might be viewed as a metamorphosis, signaling entry into a different life stage where different needs arise. Consequently, letting go of obsolete things, those no longer significant, enables a focus on truly meaningful or essential aspects of life. The idea of letting go is often associated with individuals who are seriously ill or nearing the end of life. Can this concept also be relevant for those not facing death? Many people who aren't in a life-threatening situation still experience significant suffering. When we explore the causes of suffering and distress, can the concept of letting go be applicable? Letting go does not equal giving up. Letting go is understanding what we should have now and what we do not need. Letting go is the ability to see or know what is important, what really matters. Letting go is putting behind or setting aside people or things that are not related or less important. Letting go is about asking ourselves this question: what is the most important thing to me at this moment? It is very important for patients facing advanced illnesses or life-threatening conditions to think of letting go. When the body no longer functions as usual, the body might not be able to support activities we used to do. The mind might not be able to engage with things that we want or we used to do, and therefore at this juncture of life, is very important to be more selective. To let go of the things that are less important, the things we wish to have but don't really need to have. In the process of letting go, many things are less important, or could become a burden to the physical body. We will find the space and the new freedom to focus on things that are more achievable, and things that enable us to live better or to feel better. Letting go involves releasing unnecessary burdens and responsibilities that weigh us down, allowing us to feel lighter and free. As the Chinese saying goes, not knowing living, How do we know about dying? So, we have to live a good life, only then can we leave well. Types of letting go: letting go of external attachments, letting go of environmental concerns, letting go of material possessions. Research indicates that patients often suffer when they are seriously ill in the hospital. During interviews, it was found that patients frequently experience suffering due to factors related to the external environment, which may be beyond their control or not meeting their expectations. Patients often suffer in the hospital due to factors like the temperature being too hot or too cold, lack of air conditioning, poor ventilation, unpleasant smells and noise from the surroundings, miscommunication, or staff attitudes. These causes of suffering are not the patient's fault. However, patients may experience more suffering if they have specific expectations that things should be a certain way. To let go, patients can shift their focus from the challenging conditions to the main objective of being in the hospital, which is to receive treatment. Instead of dwelling on discomforts, concentrating on the treatment purpose can help alleviate unnecessary suffering. Therefore, we need to let go of environmental factors beyond our control. We should remind ourselves to focus and conserve energy, avoiding unnecessary suffering from things we cannot control. Letting go of less important matters refers to some of our physical needs or habits. For instance, some people get upset because they can't take a bath every day in the hospital. We should ask ourselves, is it necessary to take a bath every day? In situations like being bedridden, we should be grateful that someone is cleaning us in bed. Concerning personal hygiene, many people get upset because their routines are changed or disrupted. So, when we are sick and bedridden, we should let go of habits like taking a bath in the bathroom or brushing teeth at the basin. We should let go of the normal routine and adopt a new one, such as brushing teeth in bed. In short, we have to find a new way to do it. We should remember that the only thing that does not change in life is change. With this in mind, we can be relaxed and more accepting when changes happen. Understanding the importance of dying is crucial. Contemplating or anticipating dying allows us to see what might potentially happen when we are dying. The contemplation of dying can lead us to realize what truly matters in life. Many times, we live as if we will live forever. Consequently, we often chase after things that seem important to us but may not hold any value when we are dying. We need to start asking ourselves, are these things truly important? Should we ask these questions when we are on the verge of dying, or should we ask them while we are alive to avoid making mistakes and having regrets when we die? We often believe that our happiness and emotional state depend on external factors, certain people, or relationships. It's essential to realize that we are fully responsible for our emotional well-being. While relationships may influence our emotional state to some extent, we should not let it control us. During times of illness or sickness, many of us experience emotional reactions such as anger, denial, shock, or depression. These are common responses for those suffering, especially those with advanced diseases. These emotions are part of the process we all go through. Hopefully, during this emotional process, we come to realize that we have the choice to decide how we want to feel, whether happy, sad, or angry. We are responsible for our own emotional well-being. Many times, we find ourselves suffering repeatedly in the same situations or with certain people. This often happens because our thoughts and emotions dwell on these negative thoughts. It's crucial to realize this and to let go of these recurring thoughts. While no one enjoys negative thoughts and suffering, many of us unknowingly hold on to these rumination patterns that cause significant distress. What are the things to let go of? Letting go of the desire to control everything. Letting go of the demands on others to do things for us. Letting go of the need to control people close to us, expecting them to listen to us. The ability to understand the causes of suffering and why we suffer is crucial because understanding makes it easier to let go. I am often asked, isn't it depressing to care for dying patients every day? Isn't it disheartening to see very sick patients all the time? Don't you get attached to these patients? I always respond that in palliative care, we don't have time to get depressed. Even when patients are very ill, many still aspire to live well and find happiness. Taking some quiet time for reflection or engaging in meaningful conversations with someone close to us can help us gain insight into the causes of our emotional suffering. This reflection can enable us to identify and release the negative thoughts that disturb us. In palliative care, We understand that death is a natural part of the process. Do I need to detach myself to avoid forming attachments with patients? The answer is no. We don't need to get attached, nor do we need to detach. The key is to be clear about our objective. As a doctor, my goal is to alleviate the physical, emotional, and if possible, spiritual burdens of the patients. If I can help them adapt to their new situation and reduce their symptoms, then I find contentment in my role as a doctor. All of us carry significant burdens: the psychological weight of the past and, perhaps, the anxieties of the future. Of course, we also grapple with the challenges of the present. We must lighten our psychological burden. If possible, forgive and forget past burdens. Focus on our current emotional state and avoid excessive worry about the future. It's good to anticipate and prepare, but we need to learn to let go of the illusion of complete control, as many things are beyond our control. We cannot control how others think or react to us, and external factors like the environment or doctors' schedules are unpredictable. We can reduce some uncertainty in life, but many things remain uncontrollable, unpredictable, and uncertain. We need to accept this reality, let go of the need for full control, and embrace the unpredictable, uncertain aspects of life. How to manage stress. It's helpful to identify what causes stress, both physically and psychologically. Take each stressor one by one and consider if you can adapt, communicate with others, or make the situation more predictable. If it's beyond your control or you can't make changes, then you have to learn to let it go. Instead of having high expectations, try saying, "Let me try to adapt," or "Let me see what else I can do to improve my situation." This approach is better than constantly dwelling on the problem and complaining, which leads to emotional turbulence. Forgiving is often easier said than done. Many patients have told me, "I will never forget or forgive him or her." It's okay if forgiveness is challenging, but at least, if we are aware that this issue is causing distress, try to set it aside. Recognize that we don't want this matter to cause repeated stress. Put it in a corner, leave it there, and occasionally revisit it. If forgiveness is possible, that's great. If not, it's okay. Don't let it accumulate stress, just keep it aside, knowing it's there is good enough. I learned this from a 16-year-old boy named Kenny who suffers from muscular dystrophy. He has been wheelchair-bound since he was 7 or 8 years old. Kenny was very angry with someone and said, "I cannot forgive him." So I asked, "Since this thing really distresses you, is it worthwhile putting it in a corner?" He agreed, saying, "I will try to lock him up in the corner of my memory." After a few years, when Kenny tried to find meaning in his life and entered college at nearly 20, he told me, "Dr. Lowe, I managed to take out my secret black box." I can see how silly he was, and how silly I was to be so frustrated, angry, and distressed about what happened last time. I am still not able to forgive him, but I am not so distressed now looking at this black box. Within another 2 to 3 years, when I met Kenny again, he had finally found the meaning of life that was worth living. He decided to be a good speaker to share his life experiences, helping people treasure their lives and live happily. At that point, he said, "Dr. Lowe, why should I hold on? I forgive that person. I don't want to carry this burden in my life. It is so heavy, I don't want to carry it anymore. I forgive him. I let go of this burden." Adaptation and adjustment takes time, so we shouldn't feel bad if we can't do it now. If we are determined and know we have a choice to choose something better for ourselves, with effort and perseverance, it is possible for us to let go. Nurse To was not just my colleague but also my spiritual friend. She was almost a decade older than me, and we used to work together in a geriatric nursing home. Nurse To was incredibly caring, always ensuring the well-being of the team, including doctors and nurses. She had a gentle voice, was a good listener, and didn't speak much. Her usual responses were really, yeah, or how are you? Or anything you want me to do for you? We all loved Nurse To, and during times of stress, we would seek her out. And when we were hungry, she was the one we looked for. Many times when she came to work, she would buy food for the team to enjoy. Later, both of us transitioned to working in hospice, and began doing home visits together. During coffee breaks, we would chat. I remember a particular day when we decided to go to my house for lunch break. Since it was close by, I proudly invited Nurse To. I had a little agenda that day to show her my newly bought sea blue Iranian carpet. I thought it would be nice to have tea on the carpet. At that time, my son was 3 years old. We had our drinks and food sitting on the carpet, and I made my son a glass of Milo. While chatting, my son accidentally spilled the Milo onto the carpet. I felt angry and scolded him for his carelessness. At that moment, I wasn't thinking as a mother but more like a guardian of the carpet. I had spent a considerable amount of money on it. My primary concern was to ensure the carpet remained clean and beautiful. Naturally, I scolded my son. Nurse To sat silently, not saying or doing anything. After settling my son down, I returned to continue our tea break. While we were drinking, Nurse To asked me a profound question, "Dr. Lowe, which one is more important, your son or your carpet?" Her question felt like an axe chopping my head because it made me realize I had lost sight of what truly mattered. I had become overly materialistic and sought perfection in things. I had forgotten to treat my son as a person and neglected my role as a mother to teach him to learn from his experiences. Instead of scolding him and sending him to his room, I should have involved him in cleaning up, teaching him a valuable lesson. Since that day, I made a promise to myself that my son is more important than any carpet or material possessions. I vowed to seize every opportunity in life, using incidents to share and educate him, allowing him to learn from both good and bad experiences. I learned to let go of my desire for nice and beautiful things. Within a month of the incident, I decided to give away the carpet to someone who would appreciate it. I realized I didn't need the carpet. What I needed was just a space on the floor where I could have lunch, dinner, or coffee with my son, allowing him to move freely. If spills happened, we could clean up together and grow together. I used to cover pediatrics palliative care during daily rounds in the hematology-oncology ward at a pediatric hospital. One day, I encountered a young girl, around 5 years old, with leukemia. She had been undergoing treatment for the past 1 or 2 years, and her parents were recently informed that she was very ill. The parents were advised to spend more time with her. I was referred to see this patient. She was very irritated, throwing things around, and her mom stood outside the room looking frustrated and unsure of what to do. I asked the mom, what does she really want? The mom said, she asked for the impossible. I remained quiet. The mom continued, she wants us to be together. I kept quiet. Later, I asked, who? The mom said, we are divorced and have gone our separate ways. Since she was diagnosed with leukemia, the father and I have not been living together for some time. But now, she wants us to sleep together with her. Then I asked, should we make an effort to make the little girl a bit happier? Mom said, of course, we all want to try everything. Then I asked, can you give me some time to ask the little girl what she really wants? The mom agreed. So I entered the room. The young girl was sitting inside the dark room, as the curtains were not drawn apart. At that point, I said to the girl, oh, where is this place? And the girl said, I want to see the stars, I want Papa and Mummy to sleep beside me. This girl was lying alone in the bed. So I said, can I talk to your Papa and Mummy about this? Then she said, ask them to come. So I went back to the mom and asked, do you think it is possible that you lay on one side of her, and the father lays on the other side of the girl? Can we do that for the child? Can we let go temporarily of whatever happened between the two of you? Then I called the father, explained the girl's request, and promised to get the bed and permission from the hospital so both of them could lay on either side of their daughter. I also obtained permission from the hospital to put stars on the ceiling for her. So we got the agreement that they would share the bed with the child. We rushed to the department store to buy fluorescent stickers of stars and put them on the ceiling for the girl. The girl was very excited and directed us on where to put the stars. We spent the whole day preparing the sky with stars. That night, both parents came, and the girl was very happy, holding their hands. Both parents lay beside her, and they talked about the stars. Many times in life, when we feel hurt, we try to draw the line and don't want to see or listen anymore. In this case, both suffered greatly, not knowing how to solve their problems. They were not happy because they suffered, and this suffering was due to their daughter. They both loved their daughter in different ways, which made them drift apart. In life, hurting relationships may end up in disagreements. We tend to stop looking at these relationships, causing suffering for both parties. Is it possible for us to let go of some opinions or perceptions and try to move on? The mom let go of her ego, the father let go of his pride. For the sake of the girl, they agreed to come together. They lay on the bed together again as a family, and the girl passed away between the arms of both parents. Jimmy was our hospice volunteer who used to lead a group of volunteers visiting patients in the hospital. Occasionally, he joined us for home visits. Jimmy was in his late 40s, single, and worked as a copywriter. He had a calming nature, spoke softly, and occasionally smoked. One morning, we had to drive for an hour and a half to a town called Rawang for a home visit. Before leaving the office, I called the patient's daughter who had contacted us the previous night. She mentioned that her mom was in pain and needed a home visit. I informed her that we expected to arrive between 10:30 and 11 a.m., barring any traffic jams. Jimmy and I began the journey. The house was not easy to find, requiring us to drive uphill, and since they didn't have a complete address, we had to ask around. Finally, we reached nearly the hilltop and found the little wooden house around noon. We knocked on the door, but there was no response. Jimmy walked around to check, but no one was there. He found a little sticky note on the door written in Malay, "Doctor, saya pergi beli barang, saya tak sakit lagi." Doctor, I went to buy some things, I'm not in pain anymore. Jimmy translated it for me, and I was curious. I asked him how could the patient go out knowing we were coming. Jimmy, holding a cigarette, smiled and said, "Dr. Lowe, shouldn't you be happy if your patient is not in pain?" I felt a mix of emotions at that moment, realizing I often had expectations when seeing patients. I should see things from the patient's perspective. Being happy that the patient was not in pain should be my main focus, rather than feeling irritated due to my ego being hurt. I need to understand more about the patient's perspectives and expectations, not approach them with my own agenda. Jimmy taught me the importance of rejoicing. As a doctor, our instinct is to treat patients who are suffering. However, we should also rejoice when patients are feeling better, when they no longer need our assistance. Thank you, Jimmy.